South of Midnight on Steam Deck, thanks to Xbox for providing a code of the game. This game is verified since one day before release, I think it was, for the premium edition users. And I was skeptical at first that it was verified because I thought it was Unreal Engine 5. Many places say it's UE5, but it's actually UE4, which is good to see. Unreal Engine 4 in 2025. I love seeing that because it usually means better performance than we're used to, basically. So let's hit play and get into it. So when the game starts, you have a very short shared compilation, and the options. Let's first go to the interface, because on a smaller screen, I think this is important. You can adjust the text size quite significantly, which I appreciate, lots of accessibility. Same with the HUD scale, you can increase the HUD size. And you can even do a custom thing and only affect certain parts of the HUD. So this is fantastic. I think for the Steam Deck, having HUD scale options is perfect. Again, smaller screen. And second of all, in gameplay, you can enable or disable camera shake. Personally, not a fan of camera shake, so I turn it off. And there's a stop motion effect that, well, the characters are doing a stop motion thing, similar to the Spider-Verse when you see Miles Morales, like it's at a lower frame rate than the actual game. Personally, on gameplay, this is annoying to me, it makes me a bit dizzy, but you can turn it off for gameplay. This will still be a thing in cutscenes, which I don't mind, but again, the stop motion effect, I turn it off, personal preference. When it comes to the options menu, I was surprised they got the quote-unquote best settings from the get-go, 800p, TAAU on balance and everything on medium. I just cranked this up, I'll explain in a moment. But unfortunately, we either have no upscaling or TAAU, there's no FSR nor XeSS, so you're stuck with this one. I think it looks okay, maybe a bit soft, but I think this is good enough. The motion blur option doesn't seem to be working properly, on or off. Even if I disable it, there's still some motion blur going on. If you want to fix that, you need to put post-process quality on low, but it also seems to be disabling ambient occlusion. So yeah, pick your poison, I guess. Alright, so welcome to South of Midnight. You start in this place. Again, no spoilers, I'm going to skip everything. But I mean, so far it's looking okay with this balanced TAAU. I think it fits the art style of the game, that's why it's probably getting over that. But we're in a storm, so each time there's thunder and lightning, quote unquote, that produces a shadow, which drops performance. And when it comes to the cutscenes, personally not a fan of cutscenes locked to 30 FPS. I think it makes it look inconsistent, but again, frame times are my biggest issue there. I'm going to skip, no spoilers obviously. And now we're outside, and actually I think this is a good place to show the game. The storm actually, when there is lighting going on, it casts shadows, which drops performance very quickly. There's effects on screen. The rain is lost a little bit due to the upscaling, that's unfortunate. But yeah, I think it's okay as a stress test, but combat is the biggest issue, I would say, when it comes to performance. I'm going to show you combat as well. But again, the first impressions of the game would be, okay, it's in the low 40s, upper 30s, but as soon as effects, heavy effects show up, you're going to notice it drops into the low 30s. So would that mean verified? I mean, if it's at 30 FPS without touching the settings, hell yeah. To me, that would be verified. My issue with the verification system, like in many UE5 games, this is a UE4 game, by the way. Some UE5 games are verified, but at the same time, they're like going ultra performance upscaling, which, come on, let's be honest, that shouldn't be verified. Ultra performance upscaling on a Steam Deck, come on man. You end up with a watercolor painting. This one, with balanced TAAU, I think it's good enough. It fits the art style, a little bit soft, but we can get around it. But as you can probably notice, the only issue for me so far is that the game locks itself to 30 in cutscenes, and there's some frame time spikes. Actually, it spikes less than on PC when it comes to the frame time, which surprised me, because on PC it has a lot of traversal stutter. Here it doesn't seem to be the case. So let's get a bit ahead of the game and see combat. So now I'm basically 2 to 3 hours into the game, and this part, as you can see, is more taxing when it comes to the GPU, especially. If I'm moving the camera like that. So you might say, oh, let's lock it to 40 FPS. Well, I have bad news. 40s doesn't seem to be possible without major sacrifice to resolution. I mean, this resolution is already sacrificed by using TAAU on balanced. But as soon as you get into combat, even in these small arenas, there is tons of effects on screen. That makes it drop significantly. And this game, at least the art style, is all about the VFX. I mean, if you look, there's particles everywhere. There is that fog. And the enemies are basically a walking effect, to say it in some way. So yeah, I think that's a big part of the game, especially if you're doing combat. So I wouldn't say 40 FPS without sacrifices is 100% possible. I don't think it is, honestly. In a situation like this, I would do 1152 by 720, but there's a bug with the game that it only renders with your native resolution. I tried everything, and it's technically doing 800p still, but the Steam Deck can notice that you're at a lower resolution and enable the FSR, the built-in FSR, so you can control the sharpness from this menu. Just make sure you're in windowed mode. And you gotta sacrifice shading, shadow quality, post-process as well, effects, and the foliage. The view distance can stay the same. The anti-aliasing quality is a very small hit when it's from medium to high, but on medium it looks way too, how to say it, aliased, more chunky. So it's some basic TAA. I will apply these settings. So it might look, well, it's a lower resolution at the end of the day, but you can control the sharpness better. And let's see if we can get 40s like this. Alright, and with these settings, unfortunately, it's still into the 30 FPS mark. Again, the game is technically still rendering at 800p. So yeah, that's probably a bug, but they need to address it. Otherwise, we are not able to change the resolution unless we change the native resolution from SteamOS itself, which is something that you have to do manually. So yeah, if you want 1152 by 720, you have to manually choose that as the native resolution. At least when it comes to this game in particular, that doesn't seem to respect which resolution you chose. It just uses your native resolution for the internal, as the internal resolution. Yeah, you're not getting away from 800p on this one, unless it's your native resolution. That's what I'm trying to say. Right, so now in handheld, HDR on. If you have a Steam Deck OLED, you can calibrate the image in this menu. 800p, TAAU balanced, so basically like they put by default. Medium settings with high anti-aliasing to avoid the chunky pixels. Advice, since in combat will drop into the 30s, is to actually lock it to 30 FPS. 40s requires setting sacrifice, and we still drop below 40, so yeah, you're kind of stuck here. So this game is verified enough. I mean, yeah, you can do 30 FPS with very decent visuals, medium settings, balanced TAAU. You can go for quality, but it might drop into the upper 20s sometimes. Also remember to lock your frame rate to 30. In this case, the in-game FPS cap is not really good, honestly. But yep, like this, I think it looks good enough. The art style holds up. You can see some of the detail, at least when it comes to the effects, which is fine. Yeah, I think the game runs decent. I was expecting way worse, especially on PC after seeing the traversal stutter. It seems to be missing on Steam Deck, which is good news. So the precompiled shaders, I guess, did something. But I'm happy to see that the default settings look decent enough. They're close to the best settings, quote unquote. And they at least give you above 30 FPS across the board, which is what we need. And at least in this case, it doesn't make the cutscenes garbage because they're locked to 30. So that's a good thing in that case. But again, my praise for this game goes for the accessibility, especially that you can increase the text and the HUD to a bigger size. I think that's fantastic on a Steam Deck because we got a small screen, remember that. So it's easy to basically not being able to see a thing when it comes to smaller text. That's a pretty common issue. So yeah. When it comes to combat, 30 FPS. Outside of combat, it can get into the 40s, but combat is one of the pillars of the game, so I don't think having 40s as a target is realistic in this case. I'm considering it's a modern game, even if it's Unreal Engine 4. I think the art style really is top-notch. I think they really made it correctly. In my opinion, the game doesn't look bad, it looks okay. And with the cartoonish art style, I think they did a good job. I mean, yeah, I think it looks good. Not every game needs to be open world and have ray tracing. So yeah, and then you get a lot of traversal, so yeah, I mean, it's not only combat. The game also wants you to explore a little bit. Is it verified enough? Yeah, I think so. I think it's verified enough. I wouldn't call it insanely verified like I did with other games, like The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 2 looks much better than this and runs at 30 with a slightly higher resolution. So yeah, if we compare it to that, this is not insanely verified, but I think it's verified enough. So GG. If you're interested in the game, you can find it on Game Pass if you have Windows. And if not, it's also available on Steam right now. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see ya next time. Bye guys, thanks for watching.